Hey, today on FlyWire, we're going to do part number 2 of my visit with Tom Gresham. A lot of good stuff. I mean, we're going to cover stuff from base to final upsets, upset recovery, upset prevention and recovery training. We're going to cover backcountry flying in a 182, and we're going to talk about the single best piece of safety equipment to have in your airplane. So stick with us on FlyWire. Hey, I'm Scott Perdue, and today on FlyWire, we're going to continue my talk with Tom Gresham. A lot of good stuff to cover, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It's had a lot of fun just chatting, so hopefully you have fun listening. Let's get to it.
Yeah, my wife and I, having lived in Alaska for a long time, the Iditarod race originally was about delivering the serum to save the children in Nome, right? Diphtheria serum. And we always say, we're not delivering the serum. We're not out there going to save children or save anybody by doing this mission. We could just sit on the ground. I got to pass along the thing I told you about the one of my first instructors and the piece of safety equipment.
Oh, yeah.
It's a guy named George Jones. Love that, right? And I'm doing my private training. I'm up in Alaska, and we think about safety and survival up there a good bit. He says, "Well, you know what your most important piece of safety equipment is, Tom?" I said, "No, I don't know." He pulls out his wallet, pulls out his credit card. Look at it. He says, with this, he says, you could get a hotel room. You can get meals. You can rent a car. You can get an airline ticket. You could do whatever it takes to not have to fly in marginal conditions. And I have, on occasion, gone and rented a car, gotten a hotel room, and even bought no advance purchase airline tickets for several people to get us home when there was severe icing and I wasn't going to fly it in a bonanza. So that's part of this mindset thing of you don't have to go. And frankly, sometimes when you're flying general aviation, you're not going to be able to go. That's just part of the deal.
Time to spare, go by air.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of the mindset is accepting that. And it's not a hit on you as a pilot. It's actually kudos to you for making a mature decision as a pilot.
I got one when I was up in Alaska. The state epidemiologist studied aircraft accidents. Of course, in Alaska, they have a lot of aircraft accidents. And typically, it's a VFR pilot flying into instrument conditions, right? Where your lifespan is measured in seconds at that point. What he found, and this was interesting, goes to what you're talking about, is the accidents were 6 times as likely if the pilot had passengers than if the pilot was solo.
To actually happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was 6 times as likely to fly a VFR pilot flying into the clouds and crashing and killing everyone if they're passengers. And all we can do is surmise that you're succumbing to the pressure of people saying, I need to get back. I got to get back. I've got to get to work. I got to get an airline flight. I got to. And you never have to. What we were talking about earlier, in an airplane, when you're in a hurry, you're in danger.
That's when you make mistakes. You gloss over things and you don't pay attention to the cues that are telling you, hey, this is wrong or that's wrong. And you narrow your focus and you don't see stuff.
As a pilot, you have to be able to say no. And as a passenger, might be smart for you to give the pilot an out and say, we don't have to go if you don't feel good about this. I'm okay staying on the ground here.
Yeah.
Even though you're going, this is going to be inconvenient, yada, yada. It's okay. But as a passenger, you can help give this pilot an out.
Yeah. Well, think how inconvenient it'd be to go to the funeral home.
There's that. And the other part, we know, it's kind of the common saying, pilot flies into bad weather, crashes, kills everybody on board, and the accident investigators are out the next day standing there under a bluebird sky because the weather cleared. All they had to do was wait 24 hours.
Yeah.
Basically that. I mean, look, general aviation is pretty darn safe, but you can make it safer by just being aware and kind of working on the weakest link in the whole deal, right? It's the nut behind the yoke.
That's the one that loosens up.
Yeah, no kidding. So I understand you're working on projects. You're looking at new airplanes now because you're always shopping.
I'm always shopping. He can't stop it. I'm interviewing him, and he's actually interviewing me.
This is what I do for a living too. It's okay. We're interviewing each other.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It works. Well, we were talking the other day. I had a Carbon Cub kit, and I was building, and it's just life got too complicated. and I can't do everything. I'm at that point in my life where I have to realize that, I can't do everything I want.
Right.
So I had to prioritize, and so I downsized that. But I still want to do what you're doing, the backcountry stuff, and I'm evaluating that. And we got to talking about the 182. 182 is actually a pretty sharp airplane. It doesn't necessarily it doesn't go upside down. Well, I have an
Well, it
airplane
might,
to do
but
that. Yeah, it
I'm
might
not
for
going to.
long.
Yeah.
It doesn't carry everything. It's not really fast, but it actually does a lot of things really well. And he's fitting his with and backcountry big tires.
Yeah.
And he's putting a Sportsman cuff on it and VGs.
Putting
and
all the stuff on. And you had the 180.
Yeah.
They're basically the same thing. It's just got a tail wheel instead of a nose wheel. And you were saying there are conditions with the 180 with a tail wheel plane that you don't want to fly in or won't go try to fly in.
Yeah, there's some issues with that airplane, with any tail dragger flying in the winds, that are a limitation. And the other thing about the Skywaggon, and Skywaggon people probably going to hate me, is the spring gear is an issue. You have to be you can't necessarily plant it, because if it plants,
Boing.
it's going to give you the energy right back, and you're going to bounce,
right.
and it could get really ugly. So that changes the equation some. In 182, it's like plant it, and
it's
slumps
fine.
along, and it's
fine. And if I had to go land in a quartering tailwind with a 182, I'm not really worried about it. And in a tailwheel plane, I am not wanting to do that at all.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
So look at the charter operators, in the bush, primarily not using 185s anymore. They're using 206s.
Yeah, 206 carries more, and it's a safer airplane.
Right. So, choices.
Yeah.
Always choices.
Well, I'm always going to have a tail dragger. I love tail draggers, but there's a utility brake.
Yeah,
there.
It really is.
Yeah.
So it's time for you to get a new airplane. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that?
Yeah. Well, Dana's not around.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's
Yeah, she'll watch this. You'll be in trouble again. Or maybe just still. Maybe it never ends.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
When are you going to get a new engine?
Oh yeah, there you go. Put a new engine in it. You should just go buy engines.
Yeah, maybe that'd be a good thing to do. But that comes to the selling problem. That I can buy stuff, but I have trouble selling it.
See, that's why you have such a big hangar.
Yeah, that's right.
If you have a smaller hangar, no, that wouldn't work either, would it?
Because you'd fill it up faster.
That's right. Exactly right. Oh.
So the Super Cruiser that you have, okay, you're put big tires on that. You put 8.5s.
Put 850s on it. We replaced the tail. It turned out it had the incorrect tail on it, because when you put the 150 horse engine in, a Super Cruiser is the PA12. It's a 3-place cub, one in the front, 2 in the back, side by side. And you got to be like 1947 size people.
Yeah. Start.
Yeah, but when you put the 850 horsepower engine upgrade, you're supposed to put the Super Cub tail on it. Well, whoever did that in the past didn't. I didn't know that. Flew it cross country with it. It flew okay, other than not really great in the flare. Don't have quite enough, So we ended up putting a new tail on it and doing other things.
Tom said the only way to flare the airplane is give it a shot of power.
Oh yeah, well you could flare if you go a little bit extra on the end there. You got to learn things when you fly it. And you're going, okay,
test pilot.
Yeah, I was doing that for sure. 3,000 miles in this plane going cross country. It was a great adventure. It was really fun.
Yeah,
enjoyed the heck out of it. And now we're looking forward to playing with it. And people say, well, I know there are people thinking, well, why didn't you put big tires on it? The 29s or something. Where we go in Idaho, we primarily are going to gravel strips. And a lot of them are 1,200 to 3,000 feet long. It's easy. The 850s help with rocks and all. They're just a little bit softer. But we don't really need the big tires. I'm not going to be landing in the middle of nowhere where there's no strip at all. That's for the Carbon Cub guys, and that's just not our thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to have fun. I always said I would never be in a partnership in an airplane. And I went ahead and went partnership on this, because the great part about this is if you go out there and the plane's not there, just sit down and have a Coke. Because it'll be back in an hour. Where can you go in a Cub? So we're going to have fun.
Yeah, good. Well, that's what it's all about, is having fun.
It is. Exactly right. As we said, if you're not having fun, what are you doing?
You're doing something wrong.
You have to give yourself permission to do stuff. And how many people have told you, I've always wanted to fly. I've always wanted to learn to fly. You've heard it hundreds of times. And I always tell people, then give yourself permission to do that. And then they start listing all the reasons that you can't. I get it. costs money, costs time, yada, yada. That's fine. I get that. But at the end of the day, when you look back, are you going to say, man, I always wanted to do that and I never did? Or are you going to say, man, I had a whole bunch of fun flying airplanes? It's choices, but
life is short.
It is that.
It is. So enjoy life while you can.
There's an alarm clock set for all of us. We just don't know what it's set to when it's going to go off.
That's right. And my feeling is that, if my kid has anything when I'm done, well, fine. But I'm going to enjoy it while I have it. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I worked for it.
Yeah. So, that's what I'm doing. I work 6.5 hours or 6.5 days a week for, 35, 40 years. And now I'm backing off of that and flying airplanes and playing and, still working. But I kind of had one of those moments where you're going, do you want to work 6 days a week till you drop dead? This makes no sense.
Yeah, for what?
For what? Exactly right.
Well, I remember you were in your 182, and we were camping at Oshkosh in the Brent Blues Rubber Chicken area.
Right.
And you had your 182, and you brought all your radio gear.
Right.
And because, he does the Gun Talk radio show, still does.
Right.
And anyway, we
called it Osh Talk.
Osh Talk, where we had every day, every evening, everybody would gather around the campfire. Mm-hmm. I think it was Walter's airplane.
Yeah, I think we had the Beech-18. We were under the wing of the Beech-18 there,
and we just sit around and tell stories about what we saw and other
doing what we were doing now. But this was, God, when was it? 25 years ago, at least
96, 97, something like that.
Yeah, way back.
Yeah,
it's a while back.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that was huge fun. And I had my 1959 straight tail 182 that I flew all over the country. Didn't go fast, but you could get pretty much anywhere you wanted to go if you just planned ahead and left early.
I think you went to the 33 turbo normalized.
Yep, I did. I got a Bonanza 33, an E33A, and turbo normalized after that with tip tanks. That was a great machine. And then just kind of started on the whole series of Bonanzas and Barons. And I kept going back and forth. I don't actually need anybody else to have the singles versus twins argument.
Yeah.
I can just do it all by myself, right?
Yeah.
And what I kind of figured out is they're both great. They both have their uses. I originally got the twin because I thought, well, if I'm going to fly at night, I want the twin. And then our buddy Jay App, who has lots of flying experience, introduced me to the whole concept of the duty day. He says, well, when you go out, you want to fly back, you've been out working for 12 hours. He says, I know how you work. We're doing TV shoots. He says, do you really want to jump in a plane at night and fly 4 or 5 hours back when you're tired? I went, no. He says, for $98, you can stay in a Motel 6 or something and fly back in the morning. And I went, yeah, you're right. So that's when I kind of got off the twin bandwagon.
Yeah. It was fun for a while. You had that great big
the twin Bonanza was a hoot. It had a couch in it, a 3-person couch.
Yeah. If you've never seen a twin Bonanza, what they do is they take, I think it was a J35, and they take a bandsaw and cut it right down the middle.
Lengthwise.
Yeah. And then they put a plug in it.
They put a 10-inch plug in it, and so it's a wide cabin, but they didn't change the controls, but so that you had the throw-over control, right? But it wouldn't go all the way over to the co-pilot. So they put the co-pilot seat on rails, and it would slide over. So it was like you're sitting there, all of a sudden you slide over, you're right next to me as the co-pilot flying, and then you could slide back. It's the goofiest arrangement.
It was goofy. And it was, as I remember, it was hard to get in because of the spar. I can't remember.
No, I had the air stair door.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had the air stair door. And, it's rock solid. The maneuvering speed for turbulence is higher than cruise speed. Now, that's a stout airplane.
That's a strong airplane.
It really is. 160 knots, flying on those 2 geared engines, and it was very quiet. And it's like 6.5 hours of fuel aboard. And my dad would get on. The reason I got it was because my dad was traveling, and he couldn't get up on the wing of a Bonanza. So, got air stair doors. He would get up in there, lay out on the couch. He'd just go to sleep, man. We're just droning along. It was great. Twin Bonanzas are wonderful airplanes. They really are. Trying to get somebody to work on them who knows anything about them is a whole different deal, though.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
I think we did an episode for Wings to Adventure on one up north.
That was Dick Ward's. He was the head of the Twin Bonanza Association.
Yeah. He gave me a book about Twin Bonanza.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great book. Flew his plane. It was, of course, his planes are really nice, fixed up. But yeah, terrific planes. And there's a whole cult of people who like the twin Bonanzas. And there are people who will say, no, you mean a Baron. I go, no, it's a twin Bonanza. I've actually had line guys trying to bring me into a spot where you'd put a Baron, and I'm going, no, it won't fit. The wingspan on that thing's 47 feet.
Yeah, it's huge.
It will not fit in the place where you could put a Baron. It's like the box that the Baron came in.
Yeah. It's huge.
It is, but fun. It was great fun for a few years while I had that.
Yeah, I had a friend who had one with the 6-cylinder engine.
Right.
I think that's a Lycoming.
It is a 6-cylinder Lycoming and 0480.
Yeah, it's huge.
Geared engine. But you could actually change the cylinder out without even taking the cowling off. You just open it up, the thing was so roomy. It was unbelievable, And a lot of cool features. I mean, it's like there's a solenoid that if the nose baggage door wasn't closed, the engine wouldn't start. You go, okay, that's kind of clever for back when they were doing that. A lot of nice little touches like that.
Yeah, on the good bad scale, it would be bad.
Yeah.
It had the nose cowl.
Yeah, that would be bad. Exactly right. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that was fun. And it was a utterly reliable plane. It had boots on it that were nasty boots, so we just pulled them off. I don't need boots on this thing. I'm like, I do not want to fly. As you said earlier, why be tempted? I don't want a plane that's going to tempt me to go fly on ice. I've done that. I've had enough of it.
Yeah, the only time I ever enjoyed flying in ice didn't really bother me, even in the airliner, is in fighters. Because if you go 400 knots, you don't have to worry about ice.
The leading edges just get warm?
No, you don't. Water doesn't adhere. Ice does not
really?
build up.
You're just going so fast it
You're
won't
going
adhere?
so fast, it just blows right off.
I've never actually had that experience in my Bonanza.
Yeah, which is good, probably.
It's probably good.
I think you might hit flutter or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Ice would be the least of your problem.
No kidding. Oh, man. So, where to from here?
Well, I've got to finish the panel project. Hopefully the JPI will be in by the time I get home, and I can finish doing that, and then get the panel all done, and then I get it to the avionics guys who are actually going to put the G3X Touch, GFC 500, and a GI 275 in it.
Wow.
So it's going to be sweet.
Fixed up. You're going to have it fixed up really nice for the next person who owns it. Because I know what's going to happen. You're going to have it for a year and then you're going to sell it.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm keeping this one.
Never heard that before, right?
Well,
I'm keeping this one forever.
This one's forever. I'm going to go upside down in this one, and that is the difference. Everything else I've had, it didn't really fit all the stuff that I like doing. And
you like going upside down, don't you?
I do. It's a lot of fun.
You're an aerobatics guy.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times. Did not care for it. You do have to build up a tolerance for it, don't you?
Yeah. If you're not, it's that getting used to the unhook. The world, we're used to watching or feeling the world the way it is right now.
Right.
And when you're doing aerobatics, the roll in particular is what I've found people really don't like.
Right.
Seeing the world go around, and that unhooks them. Some people it's G, experiencing the G, but it's my background is doing that stuff, and
yeah,
I actually feel good. I'm a 4G guy nowadays. I don't do any more than 4Gs.
What would you do in the fighters?
9.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what'll the Bonanza do?
Mine will do 6.
Really?
Yeah, it'll do +6 -3.
Wow.
But the way I look at it is, that's my margin of safety. I do 4, so that gives me 2 extra Gs.
And it's a 40-plus-year-old airplane too.
Yeah.
There's that. So why take it to the limit?
I don't want to take it to the limit. I actually had a student overreact on a maneuver and got to 5 Gs, and I was not happy.
I bet.
I don't like that. 4 Gs is fine with me. It's actually a good target, but because 4 Gs actually, even in an airplane that's not aerobatic, in a recovery, you can do 4 Gs and you're not going to break the airplane.
Right. Right.
Because even in the normal category of 3.8 Gs,
right,
you can do 4.
Right. So you're doing upset training now. If people wanted to come do that, they could come connect with you on that.
That's right.
Basically, how to not upset.
How to not? It's the whole idea is to go over the edge that you can experience, so you know what it's like to do that, and you won't do that in your airplane.
Right.
And that's the whole thing is, and the other thing actually I find about this kind of training is not really about the upset prevention, what it is I think that a lot of times in emergencies, people have trouble with focusing. In other words, there's all this other stuff that they think about, but they really haven't had, and especially GA pilots, and this is not a hit on GA pilots,
Right.
but they don't really have the training concentration and the concentration on emergencies and
Right.
dealing with
What
things like
is
that.
the thing I need to be doing right now?
Exactly. Prioritizing and focusing on what it is that I have to do
Mm-hmm.
because they've never really been in that position. And in UPRT, I put you there. And not just me, everybody else
Right.
does it too.
Right.
But it puts you in that position where now you learn how to focus and throw away all the excess baggage and focus on what's important.
Well, it's an if-then training. If this happens, or if you see this, or if you sense this, then this is what you do. If you don't have that, you really don't know where to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, make something happen, and then you go, oh, no, I've been here before. I know what to do. And the getting out of it is a matter of seconds, right? I mean,
It is, yeah. It's the like a departure, that departure takes seconds, and then the recovery is seconds as well. It's I
Right.
mean the whole evolution is maybe 12, maybe
Right.
seconds, maybe. So it all happens very fast. But if you, especially in the traffic pattern, if you have a departure, the typical one is the overshooting winds where you're pulling G, and you flirt with the accelerated stall, and when it happens, if you go over the top, you've got a little bit of time to survive.
Okay.
Not much. But if you go under the bottom, it departs under the bottom,
Yeah.
if you don't do things absolutely perfectly right now, you're dead.
Yeah.
And there's no recovering from a spin at pattern altitude.
Really?
I want to put it out that way. No. Spins at pattern altitude, if you do everything perfectly, you're probably going to take 800 feet to recover.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're doing it in like an aerobatic airplane, and you're doing it as part of an aerobatic routine, because they do it in competition, you might be able to do it in 400 to 500 feet.
Right.
But you're practicing it, 100 times.
The point of that is you want to not do that.
Not do that.
Because it probably is not survivable.
Yeah, more than likely not survivable.
Yeah.
I mean, the odds are very low that you're going to survive it. So, and that's what this thing is all about. And the other thing I concentrate on in this kind of training is the concept of lift vectors.
Okay.
And I'm actually trying to figure out how to.
You physics guys, you're always thinking about things like that.
I do. I think about vectors and stuff like that. No math anymore.
No?
No, yeah, very little. But so it's a concept that it's like that overshooting base to final turn. So is that bad? And you go around and set it up again with a wider base? Well, that's one solution.
Sure. Just stop the turn, go around one more time, and do it better.
Yeah.
But don't try to force it into the runway.
Yeah, and that's the key there. And what I like to show, and part of the UPRT course is we do this lift vector maneuvering. And it's like when you go to an air show and you see a guy out there doing a great big turn, and it looks like a real high speed turn, and he's really pulling a lot of G's, doing what we call in the business a dog bone turn.
Mm-hmm.
Where you do a 270, but you're going to come back down the show line, and you think that he's pulling a lot of G's, and he's really max performing the airplane. He's not.
Really?
He might be doing 2. He's just using his lift vector to orient where the turn. You think about skiing, when you ski down a mountain, it's how much you lean into the turn. That's essentially a lift vector. You lean into the turn, and you let that carve that turn
Sure.
down the mountain in the snow. You're doing the same thing in the air. So you change your bank angle. You don't change your G at all.
Right.
So you don't flirt with that acceleration.
Well, one of the things that I'm learning about flying in the canyons, out west, is first of all, if you're flying in canyons, don't go down the middle. Hug the side. I'm talking about I want to be able to count, the little things on a pine cone that close. But when you have to make a really tight turn, a lot of times what they're doing now is they make a turn and go ahead and let the altitude fall off as you're making the turn, and you could explain what's going on there.
Yeah, you're actually you're doing the turn in 3 dimensions.
Okay.
What we're used to doing is doing level turns, and that's
Right.
what gets people into this trouble is they don't change the bank angle, or maybe their instructor told them don't ever go over 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's your problem, then go around, come back, and fly a wider base.
Okay.
But you can't go over 30 degrees. The airplane's not going to fall out of the sky.
Right.
You have to manage that lift vector. Now you're carving the turn. You're making the turn in 3 dimensions. So some of the turn radius, which is not going to change, is in the vertical, not the horizontal.
Right.
And that's the key.
So we get up here, we're turning, and if you say, okay, I need to turn tight, it's a tight little canyon. For heaven's sakes, people say, well, I'll go do a hammerhead stall. Yeah, well, you'll be dead.
You'll be dead.
You'll be dead. That's nonsense.
It is.
Utter nonsense. Go take a mountain flying class. That's just really important. But you make a turn, and you're letting the nose drop while you're doing the turn. And that's giving up some of the G's, is it not?
It's giving up you're using the altitude to allow you to do some of that turn, and you don't have to add G to it because with the bank angle you're making that turn anyway.
Yeah.
And so you don't actually have to increase the G and then flirt with that accelerated stall.
Right. Exactly.
So it works, but you have to have altitude to do that.
Correct. Yes. You can't do that at 100 feet. And we're flying fairly low, but for us, 500 feet is pretty good altitude.
Yeah.
When you're making a turn like that. And then you just turn tight and come on in and drop in. Usually making that turn to go land at a off airport runway somewhere. So, yeah, and I invite people, a lot of people are wanting to do the backcountry flying these days. It's great, it's fun to do, but I would really encourage you to go take a class with one of these mountain flying schools because it's that old deal, you don't know what you don't know.
Don't know what you don't know. And I did the review for the Telluride S-35 accident, and I made that point is I'm a flatlander. I mean, I've flown in the mountains before, but most of that has been in a jet with a lot of excess thrust.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot when you got that kind of thrust. You can point the nose to the sky and just go.
Yeah, unless you're an airliner, and then you get in trouble.
Well, that's a different
trouble
deal.
for doing that. But still, you have excess thrust, and it makes a world of difference. And flying in a piston engine airplane, you don't have much margin.
No.
So as far as I'm concerned, I am very leery about going to the mountains until I have somebody who's smarter than I am. I read the book. That doesn't mean I know it.
Yep. And the books are good. And I would recommend Amy Hoover has a new book. If you're interested in flying in the mountains and canyons and all, it's really, really good. Just look up Amy Hoover. Really good book. She's local there. And she doesn't like it when you call her Dr. Hoover, which she actually is, PhD. So it's kind of a smart lady, So she's really good at explaining things. So, yeah, but really fun. But, yeah, one of these mountain flying classes, and you can do it in your plane.
Yeah.
For the most part, most planes. If you have a Bonanza, they'll go out and teach you this is what you could do in that plane and this is what you can't do in that plane.
Yeah.
That's kind of maybe the most important thing to know.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's that.
There's that. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually had a lot of fun just chatting and talking about airplanes.
Well, I said we've done almost an hour of this now, and this means this is our fourth hour of doing this morning.
Yeah, we've just been shooting the breeze, and we finally decided, you know what, we need to put this on film.
So turn on a camera.
Somebody else might want to see this too.
Or not.
Or not.
Thanks so much. This was fun.
Yeah, it was. We're going to have to do more of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to come up to Idaho, and you're going to have to show me what this backcountry stuff's about.
You are welcome. The welcome mat is out anytime. We got a strip right in front of the cabin. Just come and drop on in.
Cool.
I think even you could land there.
Maybe. It's that slow flight thing.
I think you got that.
Okay, that's the close. Appreciate you watching. We had a lot of fun talking with Tom, and hopefully we'll do that again, maybe up in Idaho. Appreciate you watching, and if you did, you can hit like and subscribe just down there, and I'll put it right there. And if you really like, I'll put my Patreon link down below, and those are my supporters. See if I can get that sorted out. Can't quite do that. Anyway, maybe it's over here, wherever. I appreciate y'all. You're what helped make these videos possible. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on FlyWire. Click this link for the latest upload. Click this link for whatever YouTube thinks you ought to watch. Or you can click this link to subscribe. Thanks for watching.